Namaste and welcome to the Festival of Bharat. My name is Kamal Madi Shetty and you're tuned into Season 4 of the Festival of Bharat. We are a platform that believes in having open and frank conversations about Bharat. And today we are going to do just that with our very special guest, Jerome Anto ji. Jerome ji is a Bharatiya Christian born and raised in a Roman Catholic family. He was born and brought up in Bangalore and he is a politico-religious observer and an anti-conversion activist. He's a dedicated RSS Karyakarta and has served the organization in various capacities. He's also founder of Hindutva Christians, a group of Christians who are either active RSS Karyakartas or subscribe to the RSS thought process. I am delighted to welcome Jerome ji. Namaste, Jerome ji, and welcome to the Festival of Bharat.
Namaste, and thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It's a pleasure to be there, and I'm sure we would have a beautiful session.
Thank you, Jerome ji. I'm eagerly looking forward to our conversation. And I want to actually begin, by talking about, something that I mentioned in the introduction, which is that, not many people in India, let alone in the world, know that Christians are also part of the RSS. So I want to ask you, how did your association with the RSS begin? And why did you join the RSS?
That's a question many of them ask me. Incidentally, I want to ask you a question. How many Christians do you know are there in the RSS? A handful is what I see. And I actually, after you, I just Googled the other day to find out how many prominent RSS members are there or Christians who actually have shown up their heads. I found only one person, one Mr. Isaac. Apart from that, I have not found anybody who has been vocal, who has been upfront in declaring that he is an RSS Karyakarta as a Christian. So I think I have the privilege to say that I'm one of those few Christians who are in the RSS for quite a few years now.
Right. So how did it begin? How did your association with the RSS begin?
See, many people ask me this question. Frankly speaking, I myself don't know why I'm in the RSS. I would say it's more of a divine. I would say it's more of a divine calling for me to be with the RSS. As a child, as a Christian, every person who is a Christian in India has been taught with only one ideology, one thought process. That is, the RSS is an enemy of Christianity. So that has always intrigued me. And over the years, talking to so many people, discussing with so many people, especially since RSS has been demonized by Christianity in India, by several Western media, several Western leaders, especially the clergy, both in India and across the globe. It has always intrigued me. And it so happened that I was led into the RSS by some divine calling, and that is how I landed up. I remember very vaguely when I was a student, I happened to see a shaka that happened, and I spoke to somebody to understand what is it. I saw some members in shorts doing exercises and all that. So I spoke to somebody, and then they said it was an RSS. And it so happened that the person who spoke to me was a Christian himself. So he said, this is the RSS and they are against Christianity. That's a very remote and vague remembrance that I have of knowing the RSS as at a young age. But I am also a BJP Karyakarta. I am a foot soldier for the BJP. And during my party work, I encountered a lot of RSS members, and I found them to be very welcoming, very friendly, very humble, and that actually made me ask a lot of questions. And alas, I realized that the negative narrative which was imbibed in all of us is actually a false narrative. So that actually made me turn the tables. I said, why not spearhead the initiative to spread the gospel of the RSS, that we are for the nation and we are not against any particular religion. And RSS is an organization which works for the country to uphold the traditions, the rich culture, the thought process, all that. So that actually made me cement my relationships, and I'm really glad to be there now.
Like you said, Jerome ji, there are so many misconceptions about the RSS out there, propagated by the media in India and the foreign media. I want to understand from you, from your experience, how did you find members of the RSS? How are they as people in your experience?
They are one of the most welcoming members. Uh, uh, it's strange, because it's always been a strange experience for me, because whatever was told to me was the opposite, is what I have always felt when I was in the RSS. Whether there's no caste, there's no creed, there's no race, there's no religion. Okay. When you are in the RSS, nobody asks you any of those questions. Unfortunately, it appears that it's a well concocted narrative, negative and good, I would say, good branding against the RSS. Somebody has actually succeeded, or a lot of people have succeeded in branding this organization as, and whatever you can call it. But it's exactly the opposite. Many of them who actually speak against the RSS are like those people, are those like 10 blind men who describe an elephant. I'm sure none of these people who are speaking negative about the RSS, whether are those in the country, and definitely those who are not in this country, the West especially, speak about the RSS without knowing an iota of the RSS. Apparently, I would not stop saying that it is the most misunderstood organization. But when you join the RSS, all your misunderstandings will go.
Jerome ji, I also want to understand, you are, of course, have joined the RSS, you're a Karyakarta, but it's not easy to do that, right? And you might have faced certain resistance, to say the least, from people around you, from the Christian community. So how was that? What was the sort of response that you got?
That's thank you for asking me this question, because it's not been an easy journey to be, for a Christian to be in the RSS. Um, uh, it's we There is eye popping that happens. People are unable to believe that there is a Christian. Even on social media, many people brand me as a fake ID. uh, Whatever interviews I've done, they said this guy is not even a Christian, because according to them, a Christian cannot talk like this. That is what the mindset is. I've faced severe criticisms from a lot of people, people who, and I've lost a lot of friends, lost a lot of my own Christian friends. I have lost. People who have stopped talking to me only because of the fact that I have joined the RSS. So that's one, and a social boycott that happens, uh, and then you are not invited for a lot of such programs, and people alienate you. So that's one thing which has happened. But the flip side is this: I have a good set of friends in the RSS, at a family. I'm telling you, it's a family. People are there. Believe me, when in the journey of life, when I came through, there was a time when I was so busy with so many things, and friendship was something which is out. But the RSS has brought in a new set of people who are willing to listen to you, talk to you, so many things, So I might have lost a few friends, but I have gained a lot of new friends, and they've been instrumental in counseling sometimes, listening to me, helping me, exchanging thoughts. So many such things have happened, and I am always thankful for that experience.
You're a Christian yourself, and there are so many people who are belonging to various faiths and religions. But all of us really, at the end of the day, have the same kind of mother culture. We have the same kind of ancestors. When we look at Indians as a whole, is there a need for all Indians really to, irrespective of their religious denomination, to appreciate our Hindu roots? How do you see that?
See, we were all Hindus, right? We were all Hindus. We were all converted. And somewhere in the past, somebody chose to die or to convert. Right? Somebody chose to die or convert. And because of somebody who converted is why we are all non-Hindus. Our roots are in Hinduism. Right? And you may take the religion out of a Hindu, but you can't take the practices out of a Hindu. If you look at a lot of practices even today in the non-Hindus, I'm talking about the Christians especially, and even the Muslims and other religions who have been here, still value a lot of traditions, cultures, certain certain practices which are very dear to Hinduism are still practiced. For example, the Mangal Sutra. Right? So many such traditions which comes to life and death. Right? They still would want to practice those, keep those practices, because deep inside, that is what guides them. I'm sure the DNA is such that you can't take it away. Okay, so but unfortunately, there is a huge narrative, and there's a lot of Western influence which is trying to erode the thought process in this country, trying to demonize our culture, our practices, our education, our so many such practices, whether it's the food practice, whether it's the way you live, these are being demonized. And there is an agenda behind it. The agenda to erode the minds of the people. I'm sure we all know that this is the only civilization in the entire globe which has survived the onslaught, right? This is the only civilization, and thankfully, we have a new government since 2014, and there is definitely a threat to the non-Hindus, and it's a wall today. The BJP is a wall, right? It's a wall to even if they don't do anything, there is an unknown fear among the Abrahamics and those who want to destroy this country. And I'm really thankful and really happy that we have something like this, irrespective of whether they do anything or not. But there is definitely a movement, an unsaid movement that is there, which I'm really glad, and I hope that a lot of things will be done, legislations will be brought in, and we will go back to our own very own rich culture, and India's glory will be back very soon. I'm really hoping for that.
Absolutely, Jerome. And one of the things you said about history, about somebody somewhere, was had to make that difficult choice, to convert or to die, and it's a very painful, story. But when we look at our public discourse, there's hardly any discussion about how Christian conversions happened in India historically. So can you tell us about that? I mean, how did this happen? I mean, in different parts of the country historically?
Two different onslaughts on this country. One is the Islamic invasion, and second is, of course, the Christian invasion. Two religions destroyed this country, and this generation doesn't realize it. This, of course, is the handiwork of the Europeans who came to this country, whether it is the Portuguese, the Dutch, the French, and the English. They all played an excellent role in ensuring that they completely changed the whole demography of this country, the whole thought process of this country. they actually see. Finally, it was the missionaries who did it, right? Because they want to Christianize India. That is definitely there. We must all know that there were two departments which went when an annexation happened. If the army goes, the missionaries followed. If the missionaries went, the army followed, right? And they destroyed every possible civilization, and that's what happened in the last 500 odd years. And these all these missionaries who came to this country, hand in glove with with their own political bosses, made all possible efforts to destroy, completely erase every possible uh, uh, thing that imbibed in our people. So today, if you look at it, people who get converted, especially those who get converted, are people who do not know anything about this culture, the country, the religion, right? So, and unfortunately for us, uh, Hinduism also is very weak, right? Because if you ask, I just happened to be for a meeting yesterday, and it was a meeting for the construction of the Ram Mandir, and I just narrating a real life example. We were around 30 people, and I was the only Christian there. And as soon as we went, we were sitting, and then the first question was, can someone say some shlokas or mantras? They were just passing the buck, passing the buck. You do, I do. You do, I do. Had it been a Christian gathering, everybody would have said a prayer. The easiest one. So see, there is first the intrusion from the West and the defeat of the Hindus, and unfortunately, that slave mentality still lingers. There is no effort by the Hindus to revive it. Probably the only one which is even the ones who are doing it, there are a lot of conflicts, no, and there isn't a unison of thoughts, unison of effort to revive it. It's I would say a divine intervention that it has lasted so far. But Hindus are very confident. You know, I always laugh at when people say Hinduism has survived thousands of years and it will still survive in this country. Well, I don't know if they know that in the next 30 years, Hinduism will be only in Varanasi. Right? Do we know the extent of Hinduism? Probably a few hundred years back or 1,000 years back. Kandahar to Vietnam, Cambodia, right? Kashmir to Sri Lanka, all those places. Today, where is it now? Today, there are no Hindus in this one country, right? I'm telling you, I'm blatantly making this statement. In the next 20, 30 years, if this is what continues, Hinduism will become a minority, be already a minority, and probably it will become a religion of antiquity and be only probably practiced only in Varanasi.
Right. It is indeed a very dire situation, and I think there are so many already historical examples which have gone that way. I mean, many civilizations have met that kind of fate. And I think it's very important to realize that and that reality and learn our, as a country, as a culture, we have to learn and see and learn our lessons. Very, very insightful comments, Jerome ji. And like talking about missionary activities, be it in the past or right now. And if we just look at the missionary activities today in India, there are so many. There is so much of deception. There is so much of unethical practices, methods that are employed, that are used to convert people. In fact, there was this recent, not recent, but a few months ago, there was this case that came up in Andaman Islands, where somebody went to convert people there, and one can imagine the extent and the aggressive I mean, not overtly aggressive, but in the mind, there is an aggression to sort of convert at all costs. So how do you look at these activities? Can you just throw some light on the kind of activities that are going on right now?
See, it is a pious duty of a Christian to convert, like it or don't like it. Okay, that's innate of the religion. unfortunately, it has been hijacked. Our own constitution has been hijacked. I hope I'm sure you are aware that I am an anti-conversion activist. Right? I'm probably the only Christian in this country, or just one or two of them, who've been very vocal about anti-conversion. I would say I would even challenge any of the dharma jagarans of Hinduism. Right? I don't think so. They have the audacity to talk or put up challenges like the way we've been putting up. And I've been sticking my neck out in spite of all the odds. Right? I'm a Christian, but I see it, and I've seen how the unethical practices have been happening. Now, as I said, see, Christianity, or I would let me reword it that way. Churchanity is a perfect recipe for slavery. Right? If you look at the origin of the church, I'm sure even Jesus would fall off the chair if he knows what's happening now, because it's completely contradictory to what he thought. He was against the institution, and today it is institutionalized. Believe me, church has its own army, own palace. It has its own governance, it has its own laws. This is exactly what Jesus was against. This is pure hypocrisy, and it's a perfect joke. Unfortunately, it's become one of the most powerful organizations in this country. Even the Hindus don't realize it. It is a matter of time. It is a matter of time that the very carpet will be removed from this country by the Christian institution. It has been written off, saying that Christianity is just 2%, nothing will happen. People don't realize the militant missionary activity that is happening. Victimhood is something which is glorified in Christianity. If you look at Gramsteins, or if you look at any of the so-called churches attacks and all these are cashed in for funds. Any natural disaster that happens in this country is nothing but a welcome move, because there is a lot of funds that is coming in, and it makes the church richer. So it's a huge conspiracy. Unfortunately, the very Bible itself is used to brainwash its followers, and the oppressor keeps oppressing, the oppressed keeps oppressing, because there are two segments. One is the one who is supposed to be the anointed, who is the clergy and the church leaders. The other one is the sheep, meek sheep, which just needs to follow what has been told, because there is always a fear of the Bible that is put. So because of these brainwashed teachings is where people are ready to die. Right? I was looking at the Andaman Island issue itself. The guy knew he's going to die, and he is going to be glorified. And look at the whole globe, the way they glorified him for his efforts, right? For such foolish thing, right? So that is the extent to what people will go. And most of the time, it is the foot soldiers who will do it. See, look at all it's a strategy. People, our country has not realized it. We are very dumb. I'm telling you, we are very dumb. We have not understood it. Unfortunately, it's not too late. It's not too late. I am working on some things. I hope the government listens to me. I can give proof to the government to what extent it is going. I must tell you that I know Prime Minister Modi and Shri Amit Shah are doing an excellent job. But unfortunately, as leaders at that level, they can't do a lot of things, even if they do. So somewhere something needs to be done. Otherwise, we will become the Lebanon. Please understand, we'll become the Lebanon very soon. I hope something good happens and our voices are heard. In fact, I've written to the Prime Minister asking him to look at the right to religion and make amends. It's going to be a tough task. It's not going to be easy. The anti-conversion law, the anti-missionary law, because you know what, proselytization is something which is not part of this country. And we are an inclusive country. We will allow anybody and everybody to stay as long as you keep your religion at the tip of your nose. The moment you start imposing on others, okay, it does not fall into the chemistry of this country. So it's a dilemma, but unfortunately, or fortunately, that's the reality.
Right. Thank you, Jerome ji. You know, we were talking. You were talking about some of the things that need to be done. And I was just wondering, can you tell us more about that? I mean, be it the kind of anti-conversion law that India actually needs to, put a limit to this kind of activity, or the other ways in which, let's say, either legislatively or at a more grassroots level, even individuals really, they have to be aware, they have to understand this, be it Hindus or Christians, they have to understand the bigger sort of factors that are at play. So what kind of changes or what kind of things do you think should happen, be it at the political level or at a societal level among individuals?
I will start at an individual level or at a society level, because you cannot achieve the common goal only whether by a legislation or by the society. Um, as of now, I find zilch effort to revive Hinduism by the Hindus. Okay. Um, if you ask, as I said, when I went for a program yesterday, nobody was even prepared or knew any shlokas, right, or any mantra. Okay. So that actually is proof that there is nothing happening at home. Whereas in a Christian home or in a Muslim home, at least you have a Sunday or a Friday where somebody is forced to go to his particular place of worship. Uh, I will I will be very open in telling that how many people Hindus have the scriptures in their house.
Right.
Right? That's one thing. Second thing is, if they have scriptures in their house, is it in a language they can read it? So these are grassroots effort that needs to be done. The Hindu society has not woken up. I'm sorry to say that Hindu society has not woken up. If ever there is anything that is be done, it's very remote. Because you know what, there's one more joke which I see is this: every Hindu thinks he's a philosopher, and these two philosophers don't agree with each other.
Right.
So in the bargain, somebody else steals the sheep and goes away. So there needs to be a unison of thought and a common common coming together, coming together of people, which has not happened. Thankfully, the Ram Mandir is one which is to a certain extent united a lot of people. Right? The Ram Mandir movement, the temple being built. There's some program that's happening now, so that's united. But that will not be enough. That will not be enough. See, it has to happen at families, and it's not that it was not happening. We are a country which had all these practices. It was destroyed methodically. It was destroyed by the Europeans. Right? We are a family where we had probably a temple in every street, and these temples were the center of a lot of activity, gatherings, meetings, prayers, and a lot of discussions and all that. So, and our education system was rich. Right? We had the gurukulas, which was destroyed, and these gurukulas were the center of a lot of education and imparting of religion. All this was destroyed, right? Well, it was methodically destroyed by the Europeans, and we need to revive these grassroots levels. Today, if you look at the gurukulas, unfortunately, they are high-end gurukulas where you need to pay a huge amount of money, right? Whereas the missionary schools, which are enjoying every possible benefit from the government, is thriving. So, what do you expect when students and children come out of these institutions? Right? What do you expect them? They will not. They will not know. Probably they will only know to become a comedian and start abusing Hinduism in comedy shows. That's what these are the output is, right? So there is no constructive effort at a society level, and that is what needs to be done at a grassroots level. At the national level, at the political level, it is tough to implement something. I always said, if anything has to happen from an anti-conversion law or an anti-missionary law, people like me have to be in the government. Okay, because Christians need to be in the government. Okay, because we are best in terms of putting this kind of thoughts in the government and working it out. The anti-conversion law is something which is the need of the hour. I know there's a lot of work that needs to be done because it's not easy, because as per the constitution, it is a state subject. It is not a national subject. But we also need to go, if you go to the right to religion, the right to religion has three clauses, which is right to practice, right to profess, and right to propagate. Okay. And as per my research, propagate was never part of the initial thought process and initial discussion in the right to religion. It was hijacked. I'm being very open in telling that. I hope everybody knows this. There was no word called propagate in the initial idea of right to religion. Only practice and profess was there, which is fair enough for a country like India. But propagate is something which is very synonymous to the Abrahamic religion. Okay. And I know very well, I've done a research, I've done a lot of studies on this. It was hijacked by 4 or 5 Christians who were there in the Constituent Assembly, who hijacked it and imposed it. And as usual, our Hindus are those people to chalne do. Today, what you see is that chalne do which happened in the Constitution Assembly. Had the Hindus put their foot down saying that no, it will not happen, you would not have seen the situation. So we've given a long rope. I also want to bring to your notice that Israel we had been facing similar such problems. Thankfully, when I went to the things what happened in Israel, they've been very watchful of the missionaries. So they have passed something called an anti-missionary law. So I'm calling the government to study something like that, make an exchange program with Israel and find out what are the things. In fact, I've been trying to get in touch with a couple of top Israel rabbis to understand what is the anti-missionary law, so that we can take that as a reference point to introduce in this country, because anti-missionary law is very, very important. Otherwise, this country is going to a different tangent altogether. We will be pawns. We will be pawns of the West, because the West is highly investing on these missionaries who are bent upon intruding into our society through various means, right? And the control mechanism is not very good. And the missionaries, with the help of these foreign funds and also the funds available organically, are able to go proceed at a much faster pace than the government can do. So my single idea to whomever I asked is, cut the nerve center. The nerve center is the funding. If you stop the funding, a lot of things will stop.
Right. Very enlightening thoughts, Jerome-ji. I think there's a lot of thinking and research as well that has to go into this. Like you very rightly said, there is a very strong or a deep sense of cultural deracination that we see. And this is not just among certain segments. You see it all across the board, and especially when you look at the youth today. Like you said, the education system is sort of manufacturing a kind of a worldview and sort of instilling that worldview in young people, that there is very little understanding of their own culture, what it means to be an Indian, what it means to be, inherit so much of civilizational heritage that we have. And the result is for all of us to see. I think nobody could, put this better than you. So I want you to actually speak to that woke millennial, if I may call it, somebody who looks at issues of culture, religion, with a kind of disdain that this is something for the politician, this is something for somebody else, but it's not for me. And I'm happy working in my job. I enjoy my weekends. There's very little in it for me. What would you tell to a young person like that? Why is there a need to wake up, like you said? What is the sort of games that are happening, and the things, the activities that are going, that person needs to know?
See, for a youngster who is educated in a missionary school or a convent school, to a large extent, he's been told that his practices are pagan, or his practices are non-practical. See, these are the things what has been told, right? I know I studied myself in a convent school, so there is a lot of missionary work that has been done. There is a lot of thought process that goes into running these institutions. I think most of the children that come out of are from the Christian institutions. Okay, and so that's one of the nerve centers, right? You can't see, once the children come out of such institutions, you will not be able to train them, teach them. No, the system itself has to change. Our textbooks, I fell off my chair when I looked at the textbooks of my children. I searched pages to find out where does it talk about India, Indian history. There's a lot that is spoken about or abused about or glorified about every other culture than our Indian culture. See, you cannot change the mindset of the children, right? Because the produce is that. But what you could do is this: you can change what they're learning, what they're teaching. I was really upset when the education minister, whom we have elected, in spite of all the damages that happened in the last 70 odd years, the education minister of the present government thumps his chest and says that we have not changed a single word in a textbook. What a tragedy. Is that what I elected you for? We as a country, a rich country, were inclusive and free thinkers. We had the Gurukulas, right? Free education, and you could do what you want. Unlike now, you've been funneled into a certain set of education. Our earlier set of education was free thinkers, right? Anybody can choose and do what they want to. So that has been destroyed, and that needs to be changed. It cannot change immediately, but at least that has to be seeded now. Only if it starts now is where you would see the effects in the next generation. I expected a lot this government to do on education, especially changing of curriculum, and not an erratic change, but at least some small changes which I have not seen. I hope the government takes it up very seriously, and that will help in the coming generation. The fruits will be seen in the coming generations.
Right. There's also this whole, I think an aspect that probably we haven't touched on, but I think I would want you to, share your thoughts on that. And that is, we slightly spoke about it, which is, the way narratives are shaped. When you look at the way some of these religious issues, be it in India, the way media looks at it, or the foreign media, New York Times, The Economist, you name it. There's almost like a synchronized sort of a narrative, that Christians are under attack in India. Same with the Muslims. Minorities have become so-called second-class citizens, and so you have seen the kind of to put it plainly, it is propaganda, right? How do you look at these things? And when we look at Indians, forget about how this is being received or sort of consumed outside the country, but even in India, there is this mentality that, if a particular foreign media outlet is saying this, this must be the truth. This must be, the real state of, let's say, Christians or even Muslims for that matter. How does, how do you look at this, and how are these narratives really built? I mean, how is this done?
See, this started not in 2014 or not in 2008 when, or I think it's 2008 when Mr. Vajpayee had come, or not when Mr. Modi had come. Whenever there was a non-Congress government in this country, there was always a scare that Christians are in danger. I will want to bring to the notice of everybody. I remember during the time of Morarji Desai, also similar such, the moment after the emergency, Morarji Desai came to power, there was this noise that was created, if I'm not wrong, in 1977, saying that Christians are in danger. Okay. See, there have been, the efforts are, see, the church is very, very smart, and it thinks, it does not have a 5-year plan. It talks about 500-year plan. See, we Indians are too innocent to understand that these strategies. See, the church thinks way ahead, way ahead. Not we. See, please don't underestimate. Please don't underestimate. They are, the church once upon a time had the whole globe under its control. Okay, and even today, to a large extent, the Vatican controls the whole globe. So please don't underestimate the church. Okay, whenever there is a government which is a non-Congress government in this country, there is always a fear that Christians are in danger. 1977, there was just a reason that was used, but there were enough processions, including our great Mother Teresa made huge comments saying that Christians are in danger. VP Singh came. All this while Prime Minister BJP was never there. BJP is now, it came now. 1977, BJP was not there. So whenever there is a non-Congress government, there is a narrative that there is a fear that was put saying that Christians are in danger. So this was a very clear marriage between political parties and the church. Please remember the church, original church, or the Roman Catholic Church, post 300, 400 years of Christ, when Rome adopted Christianity, the Catholic Church happened. Constantinople came in. It was purely because he couldn't manage the country, and it was a marriage between politics and religion. That is how something called an institution of church happened, because, as I told you, the Bible is a perfect recipe for slavery. So probably, I'm sure Constantine understood that this is the only way he can control people. You only need to put the fear of God, and people will become sheep. And that is what has happened.
Jerome ji, you have talked about, how the whole funding happens, and how some people have really made a lot of money out of it as well. But look at India, inside India as well. There are a lot of resources, and sometimes disproportionate resources that are held on to by the church. How does this happen? Can you tell us about that?
See, I do not know if I'll throw some statistics to all of us, to all of you. The church in India is the second largest owner of non-agricultural land. The church principal role is to invest in real estate, because these are investments which is a far-reaching impact, because you get hold of land. The church has at its disposal land which it can use the way it wants to. Commercial purpose, religious purpose, you name it, or social purposes. And these are all money-making machines. Strangely, many of these laws were made by Portugal when Portugal was in India. And These laws are still inherited by the church, and the government is not aware. I'm sure the government is not aware of it. Many of these lands were given at throwaway prices or throwaway deals by the Europeans to these missionaries. And today, these lands are used to generate funds to run whatever they want to. When I said whatever they want to, whatever they want to. The annual turnover of the church in India is equal to the budget of the Indian Navy. You're talking about 2% Christians in India, and look at the turnover, annual turnover, which is equal to the budget of the Indian Navy.
Right.
That's a missionary which is there. The church in India is a sovereign within a sovereign.
Right.
Okay, it's a state within a state. You like it or don't like it. That's the fact. Today, if you go to the church for anything, you say, I have the canon law. The canon law is nothing but the church law. Vatican is the one which imposes these. These are from the Vatican. So, can you imagine? You have a state within a state. That's the way the church functions in India. The church itself does not know what kind of land it owns. I will give you a couple of examples which I am aware of, and if I want to, I can write theses about these incidents. The church in India, somewhere near my place, which is prime spot, which is 2 acres of land. It's at the prime spot. It's an empty land which is used as a stadium. Is at a 1 rupee lease. Okay, and this same institution rents it at 15,000 rupees a day. The same place. Okay, this is the luxury what they enjoy, and this institution says that we are doing social service. We are serving the community.
Right.
And can I tell you who are pass outs of this institution? It's not that doing so. When I said social service, look. I'll give you a background.
Right.
Deepika Padukone passed out of this college. Sonakshi Sinha passed out of this college. And that is the social service they're talking about. I can give a list of Bollywood celebrities who passed out of this college at a lease of rupees 1 from the year 1958. And this is leased out by the government. The people around this community, this place, are fighting for a playground. They are unable to get hold of it because the government says it's on a lease of 1 rupee. Unfortunately, the local leaders also don't seem to be interested. That's a different. I'm just giving an example. There's another example of in Bangalore itself. Another church, sold a property to Metro, the Metro trains, at a cost of rupees 60 crores. Okay, once the sale was over, the Indian Army appealed to the Metro that it's his property.
Oh.
The church has sold the Indian Army's property. See, these are, I can give you so many such examples, right? And the church owns property, the government also is not interested. There are so much of such land which as a lease has expired, which was given 100, 200 years back, but the church is still enjoying it. If the government has a will, it can take it over. Okay, that needs to be taught over, because these are the ones which powers the church and its activities. Of course, the educational institutions they run, the charity homes the so-called charity homes what they run, the hospices what they run. These are all nothing but another phase of their sinister activity. This is something what is showcased to the public, but there's something else happening behind. I will not hesitate to say that these are conversion factories. Factories used to convert or dilute the thoughts of the people. Right, right. So there is a lot of things that is happening. Thankfully, the government has got a little tighter on the FCRA. I know a lot of big, massive churches have FCRAs have not been renewed, but it does not stop there. Today, organic funding is there. Organic funding is there. Some of the large corporates have employees who are passed out of these colleges. For example, MSW, Master in Social Work, a lot of Christian institutions run these colleges. So these students who come out are get placed in large corporates. And these corporates have something called CSR, right? And CSR funding, where does the funding go? Naturally, it goes to these Christian institutions. So, so there's a lot of, irrespective of whether funding stops from the West or from other places, organic funding is happening. Then one more thing is this: there is this thing called tithe. Tithe is a collection of fund from every member of the church. So, and a lot of people contribute towards the church to funding, which is unaccounted, absolutely unaccounted. And there are churches which insist only on cash. So there is a lot of things that is happening which is funding this whole activity. So there's a lot of soul searching for our country to do, and to actually to a large extent clip the wings of the church. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very tough task.
Right, Jerome ji. And like you said, I think there's a lot of things that people really need to be aware of to begin with, and of course wake up and sort of understand issues much more than they do right now. Thank you for sharing those. So, anything that you want to add, Jerome ji? I think we've touched upon various issues, but what do you think really is the way forward, in a way?
There is a lot of soul searching that needs to be done. We look up to the government because it has to come from the top. It has to come from the leaders, and that's where everything would start. They need to initiate programs. They need to pick up the right kind of people. They need to have uh, probably many upfront forthcoming Christians in the government to help them understand these kind of issues, because uh, the many people don't know. Strangely, Hindus or anybody in the government also don't know how the church functions. They even don't know that there are so many denominations in the church. For example, the Catholic Church is different from the Protestant Church. The Pentecost Church is different from the Protestant. So there are so many differences, and nobody knows it. Everybody thinks that wherever there's a cross, it's a church. That's something which only a Christian will be able to identify. And there are so many differences and ill will among the churches in themselves. So that's something I'm just giving a basic. So there's a lot that needs to be done if we have to actually handle this whole menace of the ill will of the or whatever the church is doing or the Christians are doing against this country. So there's a lot that needs to be done. People need to awaken. Dharma Jagaran teams need to be founded. Revival of our whole traditions need to be revived. There's a lot more that needs to be done, and I hope that something comes up. People wake up and something comes up, and there's going to be some kind of a stream change.
Right, indeed. And I think if we sort of look at the church and especially politicians who have sort of benefited from that, I think the picture becomes very clear. There is a kind of a nexus, really, one benefiting the other benefiting from the other. But if we have to look at the ordinary Christians, what would you tell to them? Why is there a need for them to actually understand that, the kind of difference that they have been told, that they are different from the rest of the people in the country? be it the Hindus or the others. And there is this false sort of a convergence that is built within the Indian Christians and, let's say, the West. But that's not really the truth, right? At the end of the day, these are Indian people, just like you and me. How do you think, and where does one ordinary Christian start, to understand this, to realize, the games that are being played and the big factors, where they actually end up becoming pawns of a politician or the church, right? So where is that sort of a starting point that can come in for an ordinary Christian?
Unfortunately, this is going to be a losing battle because Christians will not accept whatever you have told. They will not be, for example, people like me who are members in the RSS uh, are already assumed as outcasts because it is not possible for a Christian to be in the RSS. Okay, and my effort is to change that narrative. The only way we can change is by being there and still living a normal life, right? We can only lead by example. The only people who, as you said, will be able to realize are those people who have been cheated by the church. So a lot of people, even if they're cheated, they are very reserved about exposing these things. But heart of heart, they know. In fact, a lot of people, Christians who actually reach out to me, are those people who've been cheated or abused by the church. So only then there's a learning. Otherwise, there's no learning because it's very clear that you need to be obedient and you need to abide by the dictates of the church. So it's going to be a tough task, but the only way is this: people, Christians who come forward and be vocal. The other side is this: for example, in the RSS itself, RSS Christians, people are very scared to talk about their association. If there are few Christians in the RSS, or if they like the ideology of the RSS, they're very scared to talk about it in the open. And that is one thing what I liked is this, because after me being vocal, a lot of people have reached out to me saying that we also think like you, we also want to be like you, we also respect the RSS. Okay, but until now, they felt the fear of ostracization was always there. So that is one scare which thing. So people like us, when we put out our necks, there would be some kind of a groundbreaking with certain amount of Christians who would actually fall into the mainstream. So that's one thing what I see. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to actually break the ground of the common Christian, because they are normally pious and they want to be obedient and they want to listen, and they it's been fed in their mind that Hindu is satanic. Hindus worship idols, and that is satanic. And every Hindu is uh, a possible what do you call that candidate for conversion. It's not the other way around. Okay? It's always that every Hindu is a possible candidate for conversion. And sadly, to see that every Hindu who converts to become a Christianity also becomes an enemy of the Hindus, right? Because they are the ones who do more damage to Hinduism with all their narratives in the forum, in various forums.
I think we have covered many aspects, from your personal experiences to the situation and the socio-political issues in the country and globally. And I think it's been a plethora of aspects that we have covered. I'm very grateful for you to share these insights with us, and also for the kind of work that you have been doing. And I think we at Festival of Bharat, we salute your spirit and your love for Bharat. Thank you so much, Jerome ji, for sharing those insights with us.
Thank you so much, and my pranams to all of them. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be on the show.
Same, likewise, Jerome ji. To our viewers, I would like to request you to continue supporting us, and please do subscribe to both our channels, the Festival of Bharat and Citti Media, because we'll be uploading content on both of these platforms. Do like, share, and subscribe, as you know, and we will see you in another such fascinating conversation. Until then, take care and namaste.
Namaste. We hope you enjoyed this Citti Media content. Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.